It has sort of become a ritual for Congress de facto chief Rahul Gandhi to go to UK every year and attack India from there. He did the same last year when he went to London. At the Ideas for India conclave held in London in 2022, he tried to instigate anarchy in the country, calling for a mass action against the Indian state. Now in 2023, he delivered a lecture at Cambridge peddling the usual lies with the underlying theme being Indian democracy under threat. The audience of this lecture seems to be just some MBA students with zero electoral impact on India. And this guy standing next to him during his Cambridge lecture is Kamal Munir, a Pakistani professor who was awarded the Tamga-e-Imtiyaz by Pakistan government for services to the state. Munir has peddled Pakistan's narrative in Kashmir. And that should explain why Rahul Gandhi avoided naming Jaish-e-Mohammed or saying words like Pakistan terrorists when talking about the Pulwama attack. From questioning the idea of India as a nation to tarnishing the image of Indians as people who abuse women. From peddling blatant lies about him being jailed to abusing the Indian judiciary. This is how a sitting MP and leader of Congress party demeaned India, sharing stage with a Pakistani. While speaking with journalists at the Indian Journalists Association in London, this is what Rahul Gandhi said.
How would you react if democracy suddenly disappeared in Europe? Right? You'd be shocked and you'd be like, oh my God, that's a massive blow to democracy. Well, how would you react if something, a structure 3.5 times Europe suddenly went non-democratic? Right? That's happened already. That's not something that is going to happen in the future. That's already happened. But there's no reaction. And if we're talking about Europe, that's the thing that shocks me. There's no reaction, right? And of course, there are reasons for there not being a reaction. There is sort of trade and there's money and stuff like that. But Indian democracy is a public good. And if you're looking at the democratic structure, it is the single most important public good. The largest, it's 3 or 4 times the size of the United States in terms of numbers. Same with regards to Europe. So the surprising thing is that the so-called defenders of democracy, which are the United States, European countries, seem to just be oblivious that a huge chunk of the democratic model has come undone.
And as soon as his comments received backlash, Rahul Gandhi went into damage control mode.
Well, it's our problem, right? It's an internal problem. It's an Indian problem. And the solution is going to come from inside. It's not going to come from outside.
Even in his attempt to do damage control, his call for foreign interference is blatant.
If Indian democracy collapses, in my view, democracy on the planet suffers a very serious, possibly fatal blow. So it's important for you too. It's not just important for us. We'll deal with our problem. But you must be aware that this problem is going to play out at a global scale. It's not just going to play out in India, right? And what you do about it is of course up to you.
What does Rahul Gandhi mean when he says the defenders of democracy like USA and European countries are oblivious, not reacting towards India? What does he mean when he says what you do is up to you? Why does Rahul Gandhi bring up the aspect of trade with India while making his point? Is Rahul Gandhi indirectly calling for economic sanctions against India so that Indians can suffer that will lead to internal disturbances which he can use for his political mileage? By calling for foreign interference, knowingly or unknowingly, Rahul Gandhi has violated his oath of office. Rahul Gandhi in his Cambridge lecture also praised China with his PPT having the words China, a force of nature. He says that China not believing in intellectual property rights is a profound and powerful concept. He says that shifting of manufacturing from democratic countries like India and the US to China needs urgent attention and dialogue. Actually, the shift is happening the other way around, with many countries setting up their manufacturing bases in India thanks to India's Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. As PM Modi says,
तुम्हारे पांव के नीचे कोई जमीन नहीं। कमाल ये है कि फिर भी तुम्हें यकीन नहीं।
Rahul Gandhi also justifies China's authoritarianism, saying Chinese value societal harmony and is legitimate for them to be that way. At the same time, he denigrates the valor of Indian army by saying that the Chinese have taken over Indian territory in Ladakh, killing Indian soldiers. He never mentions about India giving a bloody nose to the Chinese during the Galwan clash, where the Chinese side suffered more casualties than the Indian side. He also likens the India-China border standoff to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. By making all these claims, isn't Rahul Gandhi peddling the Chinese agenda? At a time when the world is looking up to India as a leading global power and a force to reckon with, Rahul Gandhi, during his talk at Chatham House, a think tank funded by George Soros' Open Society Foundations, said that he doesn't like the idea of India leading, promoting his vision of India that would just be another 10+1 player. Which patriotic Indian would not want India to lead on the global stage? Does Rahul Gandhi want India to be a marginal player accepting the hegemony of other powers? From praising the Chinese and peddling their propaganda to calling for foreign interference under the guise of protecting Indian democracy, Rahul Gandhi's speeches in London are symptoms of his desperation and growing political irrelevance.